Hi guys, first of all, very sorry about the lack of videos in the past few days. A little bit busy at the moment. University's coming to a head for the year, so exam to worry about. They've got the exam to worry about and recently had essays and things to do. So there it is. But I managed to put this together on something a little bit slightly obscure, I suppose. Not a deployment many people know about of British forces. And this is representing a British soldier forming part of the Commonwealth monitoring force who were deployed to Zimbabwe Rhodesia, as it was known at the time, in 1979-80, as part of the Lancaster House negotiations and agreement. And the monitoring force essentially managed the Patriotic Front, which was the resistance movement against the Rhodesian government at the time. It managed their fighters, the military part of the organisation, coming out of the bush, surrendering their weapons and so forth, as had been agreed as part of the Lancaster House Agreement prior to elections being held. And obviously the political and historical elements of that are a story all in themselves. And the country, of course, would then become Zimbabwe under the leadership of Robert Mugabe. The uniform worn here is not the standard tropical uniform that was issued to British soldiers at the time. The tropical DPM uniform, the Dayglow DPM, the very bright coloured DPM uniform that's quite well known these days, had been introduced by this point, and I believe the uniform here is supposed to be a sort of semi-smart, semi-barrack dress uniform with lightweight trousers and shirt, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment. So the basic uniform being worn here consists of the number 2 dress shirt and the green lightweight trousers, 58 pattern webbing in stripped down form, obviously DMS boots and so on. The weapon carried is the standard self-loading rifle, the A1A1, which is still wooden furniture here. Plastic furniture was very common by this point, but there was still the odd rifle around with wooden furniture as well. The top of the uniform we have the iconic British jungle hat, which had been worn from the late 40s right the way through the 1970s, and this in fact is a 1970s made example prior to the introduction of the DPM variety. Then obviously the number 2 dress shirt and the lightweight trousers are being worn, and with these we have 9058 pattern webbing, not a full set of fighting order, but the 2 ammunition pouches are carried on the front obviously, and then at the rear we have 2 water bottle pouches, and thanks to a gentleman who served out as part of the Commonwealth monitoring force, who has an online gallery, a link to which I will put in the description of the video, who advised me on what was carried in terms of webbing and so on. Obviously 2 water bottles. Africa is quite warm, so having Zimbabwe is particularly quite warm, so having 2 water bottles, something of a necessity there. Moving down the uniform, we have the standard issue British DMS boots and puttees. And then you can see in terms of insignia, early on men wore white umpires, armbands or brassards, and in this instance we have the later type of brassard that was worn, which actually hooks up onto the epaulette of the shirt. And as you can see, it bears the formation badge, which is a pangolin on a red, yellow and blue background. In terms of underwear, we have here the standard issue at the time British Army green nylon socks, and alongside them a pair of civilian Y-fronts, which often replaced the issue rather unattractive and uncomfortable issue underwear. The contents of the webbing was 2 magazines in each ammunition pouch, and of course the bayonet for the L1A1 rifle is carried on the left-hand ammunition pouch, and the 2 water bottle carries each contain a 9058 pattern water bottle and cup. Identification was carried and worn, and you can see here the standard issue identity discs, and then carried in the top left pocket the identity card, So there you have it, the uniform of the British contingent of the Commonwealth Monitoring Force in Zimbabwe Rhodesia from 1979 to 1980. When not wearing full webbing, it was quite common to see men also wearing the stable belt with the trousers, the regimental or corps stable belt, depending on obviously which regiment or corps the man was from, and also occasionally see berets being worn in place of the jungle hat. But this uniform seems to be typical for those men manning the assembly points that were provided for the Patriotic Front forces to come to in advance of the elections. And on from there, the Commonwealth Monitoring Force was in country to monitor the changeover of power, the elections and the changeover of power. So there we are. I hope you found that interesting, and until next time, bye for now.